Welcome back. South Africa is one of the toughest countries for entrepreneurs. But as we are all facing challenging economic times, early-stage entrepreneurs are growing into established businesses. This is according to the latest Global Entrepreneurship Monitor SA report released today. The report says there are positive signs that small businesses are making it beyond the startup stage. Let's discuss this further with co-author of the report, Professor Natanya Meyer. Professor, thanks so much for your time this evening. So we're seeing good growth in the numbers of entrepreneurs starting businesses and those managing to stay afloat past that initial phase. And that's despite South Africa's supportive environment for entrepreneurship being rated lower than global averages. To what do you think we can attribute that growth?
Yes, good evening. So as you said, we are seeing some very positive results in some of the early stages of the entrepreneurial pipeline. Unfortunately, we actually want to see entrepreneurs move beyond this, and this is where the problem comes in. And as you clearly mentioned, it's a tough environment for them to be in. But initially, they've got intention, they actually get to an established business ownership rate, and then the discontinuous rate is quite high. And this is where we have some problems that we really need to focus on, on a governmental level and also political level.
So South Africa has the lowest adoption rate of digital technology for business in developing countries. Why do you think that is? And is that possibly contributing to that discontinuance rate?
Yes, I definitely agree with that. And I think it is a pity that we have such a low technology rate. We have so much potential, especially with our youth today, who's quite tech savvy and who understands this environment. But unfortunately for small businesses to invest in the technology and the equipment and the necessary things needed to actually benefit from technology, we're not seeing that. So I think it's part of the fact that we in a developmental state still. Businesses are not having enough finance and capital to actually invest in these technology benefits to improve their business outputs.
So going back to those positives, the growth in the number of businesses and startups that are making it past that initial phase, which sectors are most popular?
So we see a lot of increases in the retail and service sectors. I think it's because it's easier for businesses to start up in those sectors. I think we should just remember that the past 2 years has been quite a difficult time for businesses, and we've been fortunate to see these increases in intention and early startups in South Africa, but it's not necessarily only because of businesses seeing opportunities. Many of these new startups might be there due to push factors, maybe, necessity driven, that starting a business was the only thing they could do in this difficult time because they might have lost a job or employment or income for that matter. So unfortunately, the high growth rates we saw might not all be positive. And generally what happens is as soon as the economy recovers and growth increases, a lot of these small businesses or business owners then revert back to industry sector they were before, actually going into entrepreneurship.
We have an incredibly high youth unemployment rate. So are young people able to access entrepreneurial opportunities? You mentioned some barriers to entry in terms of technology there, and surely a lot of those same barriers in terms of access to financing, startup capital would also apply to the youth.
Yes, definitely. However, this year's report revealed something very interesting. For the first time ever since the GEM has actually conducted this survey in South Africa, the youngest age category of between 18 and 24 actually showed the highest business startup rates compared to all other categories. So this is actually very, very positive considering that we have this high youth unemployment rate. If we look at the different categories, the two lowest categories, which is actually the categories that forms the youth unemployment rate, were the highest. This means that young people are seeing opportunities or alternatively going into business due to no other option. But the fact of the matter is, even if they go into business out of necessity, they still are then excluded from the youth unemployment rate. So if this positive trajectory can continue regarding youth and startup phases, then I'm definitely hoping to foresee the youth unemployment rate to actually decline in the foreseeable future.
And of course, we want to encourage that growth rate, especially amongst young South Africans. So what needs to change in terms of the policy environment to make the entrepreneurial space less tough, more accepting, and a little bit more supported in South Africa?
So let's just go back to the youth category that you listed. So our report also showcased that the youth are actually not aware of all the different programs and projects being offered to young entrepreneurs and startup entrepreneurs from a government perspective. There's a lot of brilliant projects and initiatives that's out there, but people, especially the young people, are unaware of this. So this is the first thing. Then there's also a lot of support in the form of private and government and even university incubators. However, this is also only limited to a restricted audience, and this is the problem. Then another finding was that young people noted that they do not have proper role models and networks to fall into. So I think if we can work on those three things, get access to these young people to get into networks and role models so they can, start from a young age to learn from people who's already made it. And then also, if we can get more information out there on the different opportunities and methods to help them that's actually available, I think this could have a huge impact on the sustainability and the long-term, continuance of the businesses.
Thank you so much for speaking to us. Some positive insights then. We do hope that growth is on the cards for the next couple of years. That's Professor Natanya Meyer, co-author of the Global Entrepreneurship Monitor South Africa report. On that note, it's time for a look at your weather. Do stay with us here on Newsnight.